Ani, wanabuju, gishganze yasiajinabe kwe mkwado dam baskakane sinongus, healing thread of the forest. Swakamakana dunjaba, wikwam kong Miigwetch Miigwetch no masak mshomsak nadwedaganak. Thank you for being here this morning. It's a beautiful day outside, and it is March the 3rd, 2022. I'll be showing you some different kinds of beading. I'm going to smudge first. This is white sage. So I like to smudge before I start projects. It helps clean the energy and keep you in a good space, so that when you're making crafts, you're putting good energy into that craft. So it's a good idea to always have positive energy going into your creations. And if you get frustrated or upset or distracted, you just put it down and come back to it later. Always trying to keep your mind in a good space when you're creating something, especially if you're going to give it away after. You don't want to give away anything with energy that isn't so good. So that's probably one of the rules that I would go by. Also, I was taught that we're really hard on ourselves, and we want things to look perfect. And when you start to bead, or you start to sew, or you start to do crafts, it doesn't look perfect the first time. It's practice that makes maybe not perfect, but practice is useful. So don't be too hard on yourself. If it doesn't look the way you want it to look, that's okay. So I have different projects here, and we'll start with one for this video. So I think what I'll show you is if you were making earrings, is probably the easiest. So I'll start with that, and I'll show you how to make one earring, and then you repeat that to make the other. So these are the things that you're going to need. So this is Pellin. It's called Pellin. It is kind of stiff, kind of like felt, but it's much stiffer. So you're going to need some of that. You're going to need some beading thread, and you're going to need some beads. So the kind of beads, you can decide what you want to use, as long as you're sticking with the same kind and the same size. That's probably the best. So here's an example of an earring that I made. So in the center we have what's called a cabochon. You can get those at bead stores, or you can order them, but that's the easiest. So you are going to put that in the middle, and they look like this. This one's a little bear paw. Very cute. Oh, sorry, it's not a bear paw at all, it's a wolf paw. As you can tell by the number of toes on there, there's only 4 and the bear has 5. So what you need to do next is you take your pelin and you're going to decide where you want to place it on the pelin, and then you're going to cut around it. Leave yourself enough space to go around it a few times, a few rows of beads. So something like this, and you put your capuchon in the middle and you're going to tack it down. So we're going to thread a needle, and I usually use a 10 or 11 beading needle. And I usually make a knot at the end and just use single. I don't double it. And some beeswax is helpful to avoid knots. So all you do is you run your thread across the beadwax like that. I mean, you don't have to do that, but it does help with knots, and knots are not fun. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna tack this on. There's some holes in these capuchons. So we're gonna tack them on. There we go, it's tacked on. Oops. And then we're gonna start to bead around it. It's always helpful to follow the pattern in the capuchon if you have colors and patterns in there. This one's kind of gold, pink, and silver sparkles. So and then next we're going to select our beads. These are the beads we're going to use. These are size 11 beads, and you can see the colors kind of match the capuchon. So I picked 3. So what I'm gonna do is decide which one I want to start with, and I like to make like 3 piles of beads, 3 or 4 colors, up to you how many colors you want to use. I just make my little piles. So here we go. So I was taught to start with 4 beads. So I'll show you that way. So I put on the 4 beads and I hold them in place, and I go down through the pelin, and then I'm gonna go up between the 4 beads, so 2 beads, and then I'm going to go through the 2 beads. So you can see that my needle is going through the 2 beads. And then I'm going to pull that through. And I'm going to put on 4 more. I'm going to switch color. So 4 more, going through there, coming up through between the 4 beads, going through the last 2 beads, and pulling tightly. Always make sure you pull tightly because you don't want your stuff to move. There you go. So you can see there's 8 beads on there, and we're just gonna go around. Now me, I'm a little bit, I don't follow the rules very well. So, not that there are rules, but I like to bead quickly. So I will string a whole bunch of beads and show you how to tack down if you want to try that. So I'm just going to follow my pattern, my sequence. So now I have 8 beads on here. Now I have 12. And I'm just following my pattern. And I'm going to pull tightly back onto the beads and make sure that they're in the right place, and I'm going to tack this down here. So now I have a whole bunch of them. So to tack down, you're going to go back to the beginning and where you started adding all those beads, and you're going to come through and you're just going to go over the thread that the beads are on. So you're going to go down every couple of beads, you're going to tack it down. And then you're going to go up through the 2 last beads to keep going, just to make sure that the beads line up. So now this is all tacked down, and it's a little bit faster. So I'm going through up again and tacking down these beads. And you go up through the last 2 beads to keep going. So we're almost halfway the first row. It doesn't take too long. So I learned to bead at my local Friendship Center in Sudbury, Ontario. We had beading nights, and there was grandfather drum playing in the background. There were men drumming, so that was really good therapy, to sit there and listen to the music and just sit with a bunch of people. They served dinner also, and to just sit in community and chat and learn from the other ladies and men, different beading techniques and different little projects, and then sharing, you know, what you know also. So it was really a great experience. Of course, that was all before the pandemic, but hopefully we'll see those things again. But I was very grateful to learn to bead. My first projects were definitely not perfect, but it did teach me, you know, about humility, patience. It taught me to love myself, and, you know, not to be so hard on myself that, you know, things don't need to look perfect. Beading is like therapy, you know, on its own, and even if you don't like what you made, you know what, you can tear it apart and start over. Or you can leave it that way. You know, in the bead work, it represents how you feel and what you're working through. And, you know, sometimes some ladies will say, you know, once you bead, never undo it ever. Just leave it the way it is. It was meant to be that way, and there's a message in it. And sometimes you'll see projects, beading projects, and there's a bead in there that doesn't seem to match. It's just not the right color, or it's just not supposed to be there. You would say, if you were criticizing a work, but, you know, they tell you that that is a spirit bead, to leave it there, that it's good energy, that there was a spirit there helping you work through things and do your work. So that's pretty neat teaching. There we go. One row is done, and then we're just gonna start another row. So usually, you know, you don't want the earrings to be too big. You already have a cabochon on there, so usually I'll do 3 rows, and then I'll put some banding on it and then edge it. So we're gonna do 3 rows, and you just start beside the row you just finished. Also, if you wanted, you could glue that cabochon in place as well as tack it down, and this is the kind of glue that we would use, this E6000. It's a really good glue. I like it. Or you can use any kind of glue, but that's my favorite. Don't let it get frozen though. It will ruin the entire bottle, and that's not fun. So I'm going to do another row, and I'll show you 2 ways to edge it. There's different ways to edge things, and if you want to make a medallion, you're using the same idea that I'm showing you now, but in a medallion. Instead of the cabochon there, you would have some art that you drew, and I'll show you that a little bit later. So I'm just tacking down these beads. This is a really good skill to have. Good skill, even if you have clients, you want to teach them to bead. It's really good for working through things, looking inside yourself, um, and also, you know, it can give people a little bit of extra income because you can sell your projects. Um, so you just kind of want to keep up with what other people are charging for theirs, for their work. So you kind of look at what other artists are charging, and you kind of, you don't want to be undercutting people. So you try to make your prices fair, um, compared to what level you're at for beading, and what other people are charging. So you want to be fair, and also you want to uh, consider the amount of time it took you to bead, how much the material costs you, um, that kind of thing. And some people just like to bead for themselves, which is great. I'm really grateful for the lady who taught me to bead the first time. Her name's Crystal Kimwan. She's a great, beautiful spirit. And, she is always very supportive and patient, and encouraging. Yeah. So I really appreciate her. And then other people taught me different things throughout the years, little techniques, and then you kind of end up with your own technique, how you like to bead. So for me, beading is like my time, my peace. I love doing it. It's relaxes me, kind of like meditation. One bead too many. So now I'm done the second row, and moving on to the third row. I also like this beading mat. It's makes the beads stick up a little bit, and they're easier to grab with your needle. I like it better than trays. Lots of people like little trays. I'm going to go through these too. That's so your beads are going to line up. And again, go through these two beads. Keep going. So I think beading is all about self-care for me. You know, once you work through all the difficult parts where you think you're not good at it and it's not as pretty as you want, once you get past all of that, you know, you find that it's very, very healing. And that we know, like, from different studies of the human brain, that to get better insight into yourself, it is a good idea to be using art as a medium, because your left brain is busy doing the technical things that you need to do to bead, and your right brain then is free to think and to roam and to make connections. So yeah, it's really, really therapeutic. You know, who knew that going within and taking care of yourself can come out with such a beautiful project in the end. You know, we're all beautiful. And I find it really neat that you can make something exist on the earth that didn't exist a few minutes ago or an hour ago. It's kind of neat. I got a little tangled here. Okay, so there's my 3 rows, and I'm going to tie this at the back. So my thread is too small now to keep going, so I'm going to make a knot. My needle came out, thread came out. So how I make a knot is I put the thread around the needle, then I just pull and it makes a knot. Then you can cut that a little bit. There we go. So now we have our 3 rows around our capuchon. Looks pretty cute. And now we're going to put some banding, some sparkly banding on there. So I have some here. So this is the sparkly banding. So what you want to do is you want to see how long you need it. So I'm probably going to cut it about here. Then I'm going to cut out my circle, and I'm going to try to cut close to the beads, but not too close. There we go, cut that out. Then I'm going to put the banding here, and I'm going to sew this around here. It'll be nice and sparkly. We'll need more thread. And I use the beeswax. Tie myself a knot. Come up through the 3rd row. And start to tack down my banding. These ones are easier because they have that little space in the middle of each rhinestone. so it's easier to sew. So as I'm beading, I'm thinking and judging my work, I noticed. And, I'm thinking that I should have cut further away from my beadwork a little bit so that I could edge it after. But then I'm thinking this banding is actually really beautiful on its own and probably what it need. any extra beads on it. So I'm probably gonna try this one like this and see what I think of that. And that's what I mean, like you're always kind of judging hard on yourself, you know. But I think once you're doing these kinds of traditional art, and the more you do it, the more you connect with spirit, and the more you're guided in your beadwork and sewing, regalia making, and all of those things. You know, the spirits, they guide you, and it's quite a beautiful gift once you start to connect with the ancestors through your traditional craft making. It's quite an amazing thing. So here we go. I am gonna tie a knot here. I'm going to cut this one off, and I'm probably going to cut this one off. There's one too many. I'm going to attach those two these two together. Kind of wrap the thread around them little jewels just to pull them closer together, because I cut it there. Make a knot again. There we go. So there is the first part of the earring. Now we need to make this stiffer, the beadwork. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to add more edging to it, because I think the sparkles are great. Oh, they look great like that. So I'm going to get a piece. So what you need next is a piece of cardboard. So you can use any recycling. So what you want to do is you want to cut a piece smaller than your earring, just to give it some stability. So I'm just going to cut a circle out. So it doesn't need to be a perfect circle, because nobody's going to see this anyway. So something like that. I'm going to check. I want to make sure that the cardboard is not in the way, because I'm going to be sewing a backing onto this. So I'm going to trim this a little bit. There we go. Trimmed. and it's going to just offer my earring a little bit of stability. And I can push these threads down also where we tied our knots and just glue it. So now we're going to glue that on. So some people will tell you that you should wait 24 hours for the glue to set. I never do that. Put some glue here too, because I'm going to put a leather backing. So I have a bag of scrap leather that I purchased. It's cheaper than buying a big piece of leather, and there's really good scraps in it, actually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try not to waste. I'm going to glue this on to my earring. I'm going to cut around here. Or you're trying to cut a little bit of a better circle. There we go. So now I have a backing. And there's these ones where you just hang your earring. So you're going to hang this way. So there's different backings that you could try. Just depends on your preference. And I also like to have these little rubber backings if I'm going to use those, so that you don't lose your earring. So it goes on the back of this. So now we're going to edge this because I think I'm going to use this kind of backing. So I'm just going to close this up. So as you can see, you're just going around with the 4 beads. It will start to get closer together, and you won't see the white leather here at the top, and you just keep going that way to close off your work. So you just keep going around. That's one way to close your work. The other way that I really like, zipper stitch. So you take one bead, you go through through the leather, through the little rhinestones. You're going to place that bead. You're going to leave a little tail, and you're going to go through this bead, up through this bead, and you're going to pull. So then the next color you're going to pick is going to be the color that's on top, and I'm going to use this bright pink because I want it to show, and then I'm going to use the other color, the base color. So it's like a zipper, so it's 3 beads. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go beside that, first bead. You leave space for 1 bead. So you're going to go through that. Okay, so now you have the 3 beads, and one's at the top, and what you're going to do is you're going to go through the bottom of that last bead you put on. There we go. Now the pink one is standing up. You can see that. So you do the same again. You're going to pick the color that's standing up and your base color, and you're going to go through these 2 layers, leaving a space for 1 bead, and you're going to go up through the last one, the last bead, up through, pull tight, and that pink one should pop over. And you repeat the same thing. So you're going to take the bead you want on top, the next color, the base color, you're going to go up through that last base color bead, pulling tightly, then the pink pops up. So you have again the color that you want to pop up, the base color bead, going through both your beadwork and the leather, the backing that you put on, go up through that bead again and pull tightly, and that pink bead will pop up. So this is a zipper finishing. I think that's prettier than this one, but I like doing this one on medallions. So it's kind of like your choice. So the dark color, and going up through that base color. And pull. So that pink one pops up. So I'm going to take out these beads here because I'd rather have the zipper finish myself. So like you can see, anything you do can be easily undone. So don't worry about it. There we go. Get rid of that. So the dark color and the base color. So you have to make sure that you're always pulling tight once you go through that base color bead. And sometimes your needle will get all bent out of shape, but that's okay. I heard it's called a warrior needle. Darn it, I forgot to put in the second bead, I think. So I'm just gonna undo this. Yep, I did. So, don't worry. If you make a mistake, you can undo it. thread is splitting. I don't like that. Gotta try the beeswax. Let's see. There we go. Okay, I forgot to put the base color on. There we go. You can just straighten out the beads as you go too, if they don't fall exactly how you want it. Okay, so my thread is getting really short. I didn't have it long enough to make it all the way around. Usually that's what we try to do when we're doing the zipper stitch, is to have enough thread to go all the way around your project, but mine is too short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to join them here, so that I can continue getting to the other side of this. So I'm going to take my thread out. I went through that base color bead, so I'm just going to leave this tail, and I'm going to get myself some more thread. I'm not going to tie a knot because I'm going to tie this thread to that tail that I left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through the leather and the main piece. I'm going to go up through that bead where the other tail is. Oops, I went too far. Hang on a minute. So I come up through there. I'm going to tie these two tails together. Then I'm going to cut these. Then I'm going to continue with my solid color and my base. So like our teachings of the berry fast, and which I haven't gone through myself personally, but when women are on their moon time, there are many things, ceremonies that we can't attend or we can't participate in fully, because we are already in ceremony during that cleansing time that's happening in our bodies. And so they say that it's a good time to do your crafts, sewing and beading and leather work and all that kind of stuff. because while we're going through our moon time, we're cleansing, and this way we can have lots of insight and thought while we're creating things. And I would assume, not that I've been told this, but since women are often, it's said that our women are more powerful during that time of cleansing, that a lot of energy will go into these items that you're making. So that's a good thing too. Oh, getting close to the end here. I get all excited when I get close to the end of a project. So here we're at the end. We have that base color that we started with, base color here on the side with the tail hanging out. So I'm only gonna need the top pink color because I already have the base there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down through that first bead that we started with. That way the pink will be on the top. Then I'm going to go through both layers. You're going to pull tightly, and then you're going to tie these two tails together now. There we go, and you're going to snip that. Okay, so now we have our first earring. It's really cute. And now we're going to add the pieces to go on. There's different ways to do that also. So you gotta make sure that your paw is facing up. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go through the leather in the back and come up. And there's a million ways to do this. You can put beads here. So I'm gonna try this for fun. So I'm making like, I'm just stringing beads. I'm going to bring them around and I'm going to make a loop with it. So I'm going to go through close to where I went through in the first place. So there's a little loop to put attach this piece to. Then your earring will hang. So I'll probably go through it one more time just to make it stronger. There, and then you can put this piece on. You can use a jump hoop if you want to. If you just have the backing, you can just use the backing. You just open it up with the little pair of pliers and put it on. Well, of course, I put it on backwards here, so let's take this off and do this again. So you want to make sure that your earring backing is pointing the right direction. And close it up. And there you go. Our first earring. You can make one of these at the back if you want. You can bead them right into the top of your zipper. It depends how you want them to hang. And then we just put this little rubber stopper here so we don't lose these earrings when we're wearing them. And for the threads that are hanging out the side, I like to burn them off. Best way to do that is with a lighter. And you're not getting too close to the thread because you'll burn the thread right off. So you don't really want to be catching it on fire. You just want to melt the thread a little bit. So any threads that are kind of hanging. There you go. And there's a perfectly cute earring that didn't take too long to make. I hope that you can be patient with yourself while you're beading, and remember those teachings of kindness, gentleness, love, patience. All of those things are, you can find all of that while you're beading. Self-forgiveness, all kinds of things. Prioritizing what you need to do and, you know, give yourself some self-care. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Miigwetch.